Investments under the program are tied to successful completion of each review. The reviews assess our progress towards meeting the quantitative performance criteria, indicative targets, and structural benchmarks. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to inform this august House that based on the IMF's own assessment at the staff level, after the first review, Ghana met all the 6 quantitative performance criteria. The 2 out of the 3 indicative targets, the 2 met a floor on social spending, a floor on non-oil public revenue. The indicative target of 0 net accumulation of payables was extended largely to the ongoing negotiations with energy sector IPP on legacy debt. And 6 of the 7 structural benchmarks due end 2023 were also met, and subsequently the 7th has been met. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal incentives and reliefs I announced previously are in line with government's 5-year growth strategy, which was approved by Cabinet in August 2023. This is to stimulate and sustain economic growth even as we restore macroeconomic stability under the IMF-backed program. The first phase, which is a 14-month program, essentially focuses on scaling our prioritized existing programs and attracting private sector investments to deliver rapid results without significant demands on budgetary resources. Mr. Speaker, the growth strategy prioritizes key sectors of the economy, including agriculture, agribusiness, and aquaculture. Trade Permanent Steering and Technical Committee, co-led by the Ministries of Finance, as well as Ministry of Trade and Industry and the private sector, and supported by development partners, is being set up to drive this collaboration for growth. Mr. Speaker, last year I discussed the enormous impact of the food import bill on exchange rate volatility and inflation. I made clear how unsustainable the imports are and the need to change course. The growth strategy therefore supports the implementation of interventions that increases our capacity to produce, deepen value chains, facilitate and modernize storage facilities, and increase the shelf line of products. These improvements are expected to help support exports, build forest exchange buffers, and reduce inflation of earmarked funds. Mr. Speaker, we would also like to appreciate on this level the contributions of key stakeholders, including the Managing Director, the management and staff of the IMF, the World Bank, the AFDP, and development partners who played diverse roles in this journey. Mr. Speaker, we are equally grateful to the Council of State, CSOs, labor unions, Employers Association, AGI, FBOs, think tanks and research institutions, and all other stakeholders who played various roles in the process. Let me note, Mr. Speaker, Labour's remarkable composure and historic agreement yesterday to ensure that our discussions with the fund was not derailed. We thank Labour for this. Mr. Speaker, Planting for Food and Jobs 2.0. Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister, just a minute. Honourable members, in line with Order 42 of the standing orders of our House, I hereby direct that sitting be held outside the normal sitting hours. Honourable Minister, you may now continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in seeking to change the course of the agriculture sector, the President in August 2023, with the new Minister of Agriculture, launched the Planting for Food and Jobs 2.0. By design, PFJ 2.0 places greater emphasis on value chain approaches and focuses on strengthening linkages between actors along eligible agricultural commodity value chains, broadly categorized into grains, roots, and tuber vegetables and poultry. The PFJ has a special focus on poultry to address the heavy reliance on imports. Accordingly, 15 anchor farmers and 500 outgrowers in 5 regions, Ashanti, Greater Accra, Bono, East, and Eastern regions, will be selected to produce 65,000 metric tons of broilers in 2024. Mr. Speaker, the significant shortfall between demand and domestic production of vegetables requires urgent action, especially considering the impact of the recent supply disruptions from the Sahelian region. The engagement of onion producers and importers prior to this 2024 budget revealed the importance of developing an onion index to track the production. The engagement of onion producers and importers prior to this 2024 budget revealed the importance of developing an onion index to track the production, distribution, and consumption of the commodity. It emerged during these engagements that in 2022, demand for onions was 314,000 metric tons, while the local production was 179,000 metric tons. In addition, the national demand for tomatoes in 2022 was estimated at 1.3 million metric tons, while local production stood at 468,000 metric tons. These are two prominent vegetables in the Ghanaian households. Mr. Speaker, PFJ2 therefore seeks to improve the supply and utilization of high-quality inputs, facilitate credit guarantees for aggregators to procure improved seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides, and supply them on zero-interest credit terms to vegetable farmers in the immediate and short-term future. Furthermore, the condition and capacity of existing warehouses will be improved to enhance the condition and capacity in storing bumper harvests and maintaining price stability. Mr. Speaker, the growth strategy also aims to boost fish production, mostly through increased focus on oceanic and inland earthen ponds. The goal is to support fishermen, fish farmers, and fish processors in our coastal regions. The interventions planned in this subsector include direct support for production, distribution, and storage of fish, as well as producing and supplying over 110 million liters of premise fuel using gasoline and condensate. Mr. Speaker, part of PFJ2's program strategy is to support the private commercial agriculture under the Economic Enclaves project. Towards this, priority has been given to securing and developing lands to offer security of tenure for large-scale agriculture investments. The focus on large-scale commercial agriculture is to harness the benefits of scale and scope of economics, promote the adoption of technology for efficiency and standardization, as well as support price stabilization efforts. As of December 2022, 3 enclaves in Kasonya, Greater Accra, Kumewu, Ashanti, and Banda Oti region were operational. 5 out of 5 other enclaves are planned in 2024 to promote value addition, integration, and deepening aggregation and value chain systems to serve as economic growth goals. The 3 operational EEPs will lead to production of 160,000 metric tons of rice by end of 2024, over 110,000 acres of land in cultivation for the key staples. Private sector actors investing on EEP will provide employment for the youth with a target of at least 5,000 jobs. Already, Mr. Speaker, 10 private sector actors have responded to the expression of interest to predominantly act as anchor farmers on the developed lands. Government will also pursue the interest expressed by other international private sector operators to unlock investments and technology for the economic enclave projects. We are also using the EEP to leverage catalytic financing from key partners, including MasterCard Foundation and the African Development Bank. To implement the economic enclave at scale and speed, as I mentioned, Ghana cedis 1 billion has been allocated to Millennium Development Authority to complement PFJ 2.0. This funding will be dedicated to providing critical infrastructure, including irrigation, canals, as well as cleaning and developing land for private sector actors in the EEP. Other key interventions under the Ghana Cares program, such as the completion of a foundry, will benefit from this funding. MEDA has a remarkable record from the implementation of 2 compacts under the Millennium Challenge Corporation, one of which was agriculture and agribusiness. They continue to demonstrate experience and ingenuity that will accelerate the delivery of the growth goals to transform agriculture in our country. Mr. Speaker, the Digital Youth Village as a key initiative under Ghana Cares involves collaboration between the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization, Ministry of Finance, and University of Ghana to support tech entrepreneurs and create vibrant tech hubs. To date, the DYV project has completed the design, land location, site clearance, as well as securing an architect and contractor initiating the construction phase. Phase 1 of DYV project is expected to be completed before end December 2024. Mr. Speaker, in the area of trade, industry, and export, the key operations under 1D1F free zones, export promotion, strategic and core industries, and business regulatory reforms have been prioritized under the growth strategy. Altogether, earnings from non-traditional export are expected to increase to 4 billion and 4.8 billion in 2024 from 3.51 billion in 2022. 271 licensed free zone companies are expected to increase earnings to 2.19 billion in 2024 compared to earnings of 1.8 billion from 207 licensed free zone companies in 2022. Mr. Speaker, Ghana remains the preferred tourist destination in the sub-region. The steady stream of domestic and international tourists also requires dedicated spaces in cities to drive a night economy and tourism. As we promote December in Ghana initiatives, we'll also work towards enhancing security and enlightening infrastructure. A task force comprising public regulators and private sector actors has already been established to drive the night economy initiative and the public-private partnership arrangements. Mr. Speaker, on 14th November 2022, almost exactly a year ago, government launched the Youth Start initiative as a direct response to the employment challenge facing our country. Through this initiative, government sought to create an entrepreneurial nation by providing training, competitive funding, access to markets and technology to our youth. This is to cause a cultural shift and guide our teaming youth into entrepreneurship by assisting them to start, build, and grow their own businesses. Mr. Speaker, a year on, the preparatory works have been completed. The 3 components of the initiative, Youth Start District, Entrepreneurship Program, Commercial Program, and the Youth Start Grace Program have also been developed and piloted successfully. On 20th September 2022, government signed an MOU with 11 banks and the Ghana Association of Bankers to support entrepreneurs gain access to capital to enhance their business. The Ghana Association of Banks have worked with us to train the participating financial institutions on the program and have completed the design of a technology platform to receive applications. The National Banking College has also been engaged under the program to train beneficiaries on behalf of the participating banks. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Enterprises Agency and the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program has been brought together as a cohesive unit to co-lead the district entrepreneurship component of the USAT program. Mr. Speaker, all is set to accelerate the implementation of USAT. We are working with our partners, the World Bank, to secure additional financing, Mr. Speaker, of $150 million US. On our own, we are committing 200 million Ghana cedis to ensure that more young persons are supported into entrepreneurship. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, through their strategic partners, has completed the Mineral Resource Estimate Report that has been prepared in line with Joint Ore Reserves Committee standards. The results of the report indicate significant bauxite quantities, making the project a commercially viable one. Mr. Speaker, the master plan has been reviewed and given a seal of approval by KPMG. To ensure, Mr. Speaker, the various mineral discoveries are informed deposits of iron ore are commercially viable, a high-level mineral resource study has been commissioned by GSDEC, working with the private partners. The capital-intensive activity has been uploaded to Ghanaian private partners to produce a standard bankable report at no cost to the government of Ghana. This is to ensure that the integrated iron and steel industry is not faced with a continuous decline of domestic production and processing of metallic minerals and associated dependence on foreign supplies for our needs. Mr. Speaker, key interventions to improve the business environment include enhancing the business regulatory reform, crowding in private sector financing of $20 billion through foreign direct investments, and amendments to the GIPC Act has been completed and submitted to Parliament. The Speaker, the growth strategy sets ambitious targets for easing access of the domestic private sector, including medium and long-term finance at competitive rates. Government will leverage the plans of the Development Bank of Ghana, GESEL, Venture Capital Trust Fund, and the Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund to provide loans, partial guarantees, and venture capital to private entities with transformational and strategic projects in agriculture. Mr. Speaker, channels would include the Development Bank of Ghana to increase the lending volume of the Development Bank of Ghana to 2 billion cedis for 2024. For GESEL to provide 350 million partial risk guarantees to leverage private sector participation in the agricultural sector. Government will also support DBG for fundraising of an additional $1 billion in 2024 to support their work. Mr. Speaker, the IFC, working with government, will pursue the $500 million commitment of financing from the World Bank's IFC as a partner in Ghana's Mutual Prosperity Dialogue. The recapitalization of banks. Mr. Speaker, government and the World Bank will recapitalize the banks through the Ghana Financial Stability Fund and the Financial Sector Program, with over 10 billion cedis, Mr. Speaker, to enable aggressive financing of private sector businesses. Mr. Speaker, the banks will be recapitalized in the coming week. Furthermore, venture capital trusts will be given additional funds to ensure that the private sector has access to that. Mr. Speaker, the stock of global debt as a share of global GDP was 258% last year. Moreover, as of 2022, the stock of public debt was 238%, 9 percentage points higher than in 2019. To return Ghana to a path of debt sustainability from a debt to GDP ratio of 89%, Mr. Speaker, we aim to be at 66% this year. The goal is to achieve a 55% debt to GDP ratio and 18% revenue to GDP ratio over the medium term. Mr. Speaker, Ghana completed the first phase of the DDEP in February 2023, where 82 billion cedis of old domestic debts were exchanged for new bonds. In this process, Mr. Speaker, the average coupon of 9.1% were achieved with a participation rate of 84%. Mr. Speaker, we have come to the end of the domestic debt exchange program and need to focus on the external debt restructuring to further improve the debt trajectory. Even more to enable us reach the target landing zone of 55%. Mr. Speaker, discussions with the Eurobond investors are continuing. We have given a broad outline of 20 to 40% haircut under 20 years and interest rates of less than 5%. Ghana bilateral creditors, Mr. Speaker, are also working with us, and we expect the OCC, Mr. Speaker, to come up with a memorandum of understanding which would ensure that this body co-chaired by France and China will deliver the appropriate MOU to the IMF for their board meeting next week. Mr. Speaker, we envision that in the coming week, also extensive discussions of our IPPs should lead to some resolutions on our payments of energy systems. And Mr. Speaker, I'm confident that this will successfully be done in the coming few days or weeks. The fund, Mr. Speaker, is also offering $250 million from the World Bank, supported by sub-fund targeted at qualifying banks and SDIs, and a CD equivalent of $500 million of GOG-funded sub-fund that will help, as I mentioned, to recapitalize the state-owned financial institutions, as well as potentially supporting other indigenously controlled financial institutions. In addition, a provision of $4 billion has been made in the 2024 budget to address NIB, distressed SDIs, and other outstanding legacy policies in the financial sector. Notwithstanding the ongoing litigation commenced by shareholders of Black Shield Capital Management Limited, formerly Gold Shield Securities, the SEC will continue to engage the official liquidator and clients of the defined Black Shield to reach a consensus on a framework for a bailout, intervention, and an amicable resolution to the impact. Mr. Speaker, in the 2024 budget, government will build on the significant investment that have been made to date and promote its key interventions covering social spending, infrastructure governance, security, and climate change. Mr. Speaker, on social spending, the government's flagship free senior high school and TVET programs continues to create and expand access to secondary school education in the country. In a generation's time when we have a more educated population which sustains social mobility and cohesion, we appreciate the significance of these decisions. In the year under review, we continue to support, Mr. Speaker, far from this, in the year under review, we continue to support a total of 448,000 first-year senior high school students, bringing the total beneficiaries for 2023 academic year to 1.3 million students. In 2024, the implementation of this transformative initiative will continue. Mr. Speaker, we continue feeding grants for over 7,500 students in special schools and capitation grants to all public basic schools across the country. Additionally, Registration fees of over 471,000 prospective candidates from public junior high school for the BECE were paid to guarantee that all candidates will sit for the examination. Mr. Speaker, support for beneficiaries of the LEAP program was sustained in 2023. Government invested some $298 million to support 350,000 families. In 2024, the program will improve financing by 50% more and continue to provide meals to more schools to enhance basic school enrollment. The National Health Insurance Scheme, Mr. Speaker, is now active with coverage of 60 million people, representing 80% of the targeted group. Efforts to integrate the Ghana card into the enrollment system are progressing steadily. Mr. Speaker, over 740 million has been invested to feed over 3.8 million pupils 1 hot meal a day in 10,000 of our public basic schools. In 2024, the program will continue to provide meals to enhance basic school enrollment. Mr. Speaker, we continue to improve on our road networks, and Mr. Speaker, once the official accreditor committee has made its announcement, we will continue with all extendedly funded projects that will be resumed. However, the following projects are ongoing and at various stages of completion. Kumasi Lake Road and Drainage Extension Project is completed. Reconstruction of Bichem Techimanshia Akumadin Road is 71% complete. Construction of flyover on the Accra Tema motorway from Flower Port Runabout is 60% complete. Phase 2 of the Tema motorway runabout, including construction of the third tier of the interchange, is 56% complete. Construction of 4 major bypasses at Osino, Enyinem, Enyirisi, and Konongo along the Accra-Kumasi Highway commenced in 2023 and at various stages of completion. Reconstruction of Agona and Kwantatoka Road is 44% complete. Dualization of 4 main roads and traffic management works 100% complete. Selected roads in 2nd D and Takoradi Phase 1 is 28% complete. Dualization of Nsawam of Fankot Road, including the widening of the road to 10 lanes over 6-lane expressway and 4-lane service road interchanges at Amasaman, Kobiman, Midyear, and Nsawam project is 30% complete. Construction of 4-tier interchange at Swame in the Ashanti region has commenced. Mr. Speaker, the following projects under the Master Project Agreement with Sino Hydro Corporation has been completed. Tamale Interchange, Western Region and Cape Coast Inner City Roads, construction of Pohoi, Jasikan, Dodi, Pepesi, 64.4 kilometers, upgrading of selected feeder roads in Ashanti and Western Region. However, the following are at various stages of completion. Sunyani Inner City Roads, construction of Sunyani and Brekum Inner City Roads, PTC Runabout Interchange, Takoradi, 80%. Mr. Speaker, government is in the preparation for the reconstruction of the Accra-Tema motorway under the road sector's public-private partnership with GIF is on course. The concession agreement and draft engineering, procurement and construction EPC agreement have been approved by Cabinet and will be submitted to Parliament for approval shortly. Mr. Speaker, government infrastructure program will also be anchored on a strong private sector collaboration. To this end, government will continue to pursue the mining sector roads rehabilitation projects to improve the road network in mining communities. Government will begin the formalization of agreements with the mining companies and mining-related industries to fund and commence the rehabilitation of roads in the mining enclaves in 2024. Selected communities include Takoradi Agona and Kwanta, Takoradi Dualization and Township, Presia Bogoso, Bogoso Township, Dunkwa Obuasi Township, Ashia and Kwanta Manso, Nkran Konongo. Mr. Speaker, to promote trade and transit from the Tema port, the capacity of Tema Hospital Road will be improved under PPP arrangements. Accordingly, government has developed a deed of transfer to be executed. Mr. Speaker, government has renegotiated the contract terms of the large general hospital project and will now be funded through the national budget. The contractor is expected, Mr. Speaker, to be back on site next week to complete a significant amount of work by 2024. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with government's strong commitment to industrialization, a total of 169 one district, one factory projects are currently operational, leading to a total employment of 169,000. An additional 152 factories are currently under construction and expected to be fully operational in 2024. These industries are expected to increase value addition and support our efforts to reset the economy. Mr. Speaker, to improve connectivity within the sub-region and facilitate tourism, the upgrading of the Tamale Airport has been completed. To complement this effort and facilitate trade through Ghana's transit corridor, the construction of the Buankra Integrated Logistical Terminal is being executed and is about 54% complete. Following the approval of Ghana's Energy Transition Investment Plan, government has commenced the development of a national electric vehicle policy as part of efforts to create an enabling environment for the uptake of electric vehicles. Mr. Speaker, government has rolled out the National Rental Assistance Scheme in February 2023 to ease the burden of huge rent advance payments by prospective tenants. Mr. Speaker, government continued works on phase 3 of the Security Services Housing Program involving the construction of 320 units for the Ghana Police Service at the Ghana National Police Training School, Tesano. In addition, work commenced on the first phase of the revised National Affordable Housing Program at Pokwase that was launched by His Excellency the President and the Minister of Works and Housing. Government will commence work on the National Affordable Housing Project at the Deso in the Ashanti region to complement the Pokwase project. Mr. Speaker, under the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program, government continues to embark on strategic investments across our communities nationwide in line with the fiscal consolidation plan. Through the development authorities, over 340 projects were completed in 2023 and accordingly handed over to the beneficiary communities. Rural telephony. Mr. Speaker, government constructed a total of 1,010 rural telephony sites under the Rural Telephony and Digital Inclusion Project to provide voice signals in underserved and unserved communities. In 2024, the remaining 1,006 sites will be built and integrated and financed for voice and data services to ensure reliable, affordable, and secured broadband infrastructure under the infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, with regards to rural electrification, in line with government to achieve universal access to electricity by 2024, a total of 189 communities have been connected to the national grid, with 211 communities at various stages of completion. The national electricity access is estimated to have reached 88.85% as of the third quarter of 2023. Our goal, of course, is to exceed 90% by the end of 2024. Mr. Speaker, under the Girls in ICT initiative, 2,000 girls and 200 ICT teachers in the Savannah and Northern regions were trained. Additionally, a total of 287 labs were presented to the best performing students and teachers in both the Savannah and Northern regions. In 2024, 3,000 girls and 300 ICT teachers will be trained in Ashanti, Greater Accra and Volta regions. Government, Mr. Speaker, seeks to continue to find a program to resource a one laptop per child program so that the population will become tech savvy. Mr. Speaker, we will look to raise appropriate financing for this. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana.gov platform deployed in 2020 has onboarded 1541 MDAs, MMDAs, and state-owned enterprises, with 130 of these entities actively utilizing the platform for various functions, including processing payments. This has yielded a total of 164 billion since its inception. In 2024, NITA will enroll government agencies responsible for revenue collection onto the platform. In addition, a citizens app will be integrated into the platform to enrich citizens to government engagement and allow persons with disability to address the platform to foster inclusiveness. Mr. Speaker, the new Conduct of Public Officers Act seeks to address current weakness in asset declaration system. The new act will introduce provisions that ensure public officers submit their declaration in time and that an effective verification system is in place. The draft is under consideration by Cabinet and will be submitted to Parliament subsequently. Government will also committed to ensuring the implementation of the second phase of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan to foster public accountability and transparency. Mr. Speaker, government will continue to resource the Ghana Armed Forces to collaborate with other security services in the operations such as Cowleg, Calm Life, Halt, Gong, Conquered Fit, etc. Mr. Speaker, the establishment of 15 forward operating bases along the northern border of the country to also prevent cross-border crimes and terrorist infiltration are also progressing steadily. In addition, the FOB at its level in the Western region is 55% complete. Mr. Speaker, internal security by the Ghana Police Force continues to be sustained. And Mr. Speaker, the police service improved community watch program for professional motorbike riders has elevated the sense of security in the country. The service received 100 Toyota Hilux pickups, 6 armored personnel carriers, and 600 motorbikes to augment the fleet of the formed police visibility and motorbike patrol units to enhance their work. Mr. Speaker, immigration service is also being improved. The service also conducted 5,900 inspections at various locations and bringing much security to the country. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of independent power producers, government has continued to engage key operational independent power producers in positive and constructive bilateral negotiations. Engagements have centered on the sustainability of Ghana's energy sector, as well as the restructuring of legacy IPPs and power purchase agreements, future-proofing timely payment to IPPs going forward, and the implementation of critically needed energy sector reforms. Government aims, Mr. Speaker, to finalize commercial agreements with key IPPs in the coming weeks. Mr. Speaker, Government remains mindful and appreciative of the continuing commitment on the part of IPPs, not only to support Ghana's power sector, but to collaborate with government and the ECG to achieve sustainable future for the sector, while shoring up Ghana's reputation as a compelling investment climate. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has been at the forefront for advocacy for a fit-for-climate global financial architecture while expanding its engagement to mobilize climate finance. At the 2023 IMF World Bank Group annual meetings, Ghana secured critical financing to support climate adaptation and mitigation measures. These include $54 million to establish a Ghana Share Landscape Emission Reduction Project, $4.8 million successfully earned by reducing nearly 1 million tons of carbon emissions through forestry conservation. We expect to earn over $45 million in 2024. Additionally, government has signed 6 MOUs with Switzerland, Singapore, Sweden, South Korea, as well as some public and private entities in line of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. Mr. Speaker, our leadership as chair of the Climate Vulnerable Forum and the Vulnerable 20 Group is a prime example directed by our Ministries of Finance, Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, and Foreign Affairs. Under Ghana's tenure, we've not only raised our global standing in climate discussions, but also championed the interests of climate vulnerable nations. Our President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo chairs the CVF. Since 2021, under the direction of Ghana's direction, the CVF and V20 have driven a forward-thinking agenda to counter climate change threats. Crucially, Ghana has been instrumental in pushing for reforms in the global financial system to make a more conducive environment for resilient growth and sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, advocating for reform the global financial system underscores our commitment to focusing a future where climate resilient growth and sustainable development are at the forefront. By championing this, Ghana will lead with a vision for climate resilience in a more environmentally imperative way. It is a pathway to enduring prosperity and stability for developing countries globally, ensuring that we are equipped to face climate challenges while progressing towards a sustainable and prosperous future. Mr. Speaker, today I have highlighted our collective achievements as a nation to this august House. I've also demonstrated how our investment over the last 7 years have positively impacted individuals, households, businesses, and communities. We have, Mr. Speaker, a safer country. We have a more physically and digitally connected society. We have a more educated and skilled population. Through our policy approach, the foundation for a country has been laid where ingenuity being encouraged, innovation is supported, public service is valued, responsibility is shared, prosperity is shared, and accountability for the custodianship of public resources is prioritized. Mr. Speaker, this is marked change from when I first stood before this House on 2nd March 2017. At that time, Mr. Speaker, doomsday had decimated the incomes of businesses and households. The financial sector was weak and near collapse. Trained nurses had stayed home for years without employment. NHIS was in arrears for over a year. A sizable number of Ghanaians were unable to access senior high school education. Above all, our economic prospects had dimmed considerably. I refer then to the biblical story of 5 loaves and 2 fishes to illustrate the approach in turning the economy around. Mr. Speaker, I stood here in March 27 and asked that the country's poultry, 2 fishes and 5 loaves be multiplied. Indeed, as a young boy gave all he had to the multitudes, so have we. and the Lord, in response, has blessed our nation, and this we should not forget. From a nominal GDP, Mr. Speaker, of 262 billion in 2017 to 1 trillion in 2014. Invested in the future of our children under the free SHS program, with 1.2 million students having access to free secondary school education. We supported the poor and vulnerable through an enhanced LEAP program by increasing the number of beneficiary households from 212,000 in 2017 to 350,000 in 2023, with an aim of 450,000 in the medium term. We invested in provisioning 1 hot nutrition meal per day to 3.2 million pupils in our basic schools and provided steady income stream for 32,496 caterers. We invested the most in the construction, rehabilitation, and upgrading of major roads network across the country. We supported small businesses with $750 million during the COVID-19 pandemic through the CAPBAS program and other interventions. We invested, Mr. Speaker, in making sure that all public workers were paid every month during the COVID-19 pandemic, including the teachers who were paid for all the 9 months when the academic calendar was disrupted. We invested to strategically establish 160 factories across the districts under 1D1F, investing in the expansion of health infrastructure in every district under the Agenda 111 initiative, the greatest healthcare push in the history of our country. Mr. Speaker, let me make this opportunity to recognize the strong partnership that has coexisted between the government and organized labor over this period. I also want to use the occasion to thank the leadership of organized labor for their positive cooperation since 2017. Yesterday, as I mentioned, 14th November 2023, we successfully concluded negotiations for the 2024 single spine salary structure, the base pay, which culminated in a 23% increase in the base pay of the single spine salary structure across board from January to June 2024, and a readjustment of an additional 2% to 25% from July 2024 to December 2024. This wouldn't have been possible without the cooperation and strong leadership of labor unions. We thank you. Since then, we have stayed focused on our plans. However, it is not smooth sailing. There have been ebbs and flows. We have faced severe headwinds since March 2022 as an economy. The economy has faced multiple shocks. We have not created enough jobs, and food inflation remains high, creating hardships, and we are committed to tackling this. However, we are re-anchoring our path using the PCPEG as our compass, our true north. Mr. Speaker, backed by the PCPEG, the 2023 budget seeks to restore and sustain macroeconomic stability. With hard work and the grace of God, we are on the path of stability and growth. Thankfully, a sense of a new beginning has taken hold. Despite our remarkable progress in the last 10 months, risks still abound. In October 2023, the IMF reported that global recovery remains low, with little margin for error. The Kenyan finance minister also noted in September 2023, and I quote, "All low and middle income countries are walking a tightrope given the current economic constraints globally." Mr. Speaker, we are aware of these pressures and risks. So far, the implementation of government PCPEG, which addresses these pressures, is delivering the immediate intended results. We have successfully concluded the domestic debt operations and are making steady progress on external debt restructuring. We are implementing the new growth strategy, which prioritizes the completion of key transformative interventions to improve the quality of life and welfare of our people. Mr. Speaker, for our future, large public spending and deficits cannot remain embedded in our public policy program. So after achieving macroeconomic stability, the gains will be anchored on enhanced fiscal responsibility rules. The IMF is already working with us to strengthen these rules in order to maintain macroeconomic stability and implement structural reforms needed to sustain the country on a strong path of economic growth and transformation. Mr. Speaker, to achieve the 2024 budget has been developed to ensure the accelerated implementation of the PCPEC program, to expand investment in the rail sector, to implement the new growth strategy, to consolidate and complete the ongoing infrastructural work, and to mobilize climate finance to enable us to build resilience. The policy outlines in this budget will also ensure that Ghana remains attractive for domestic and foreign investment. The feedback from our extensive engagement with key stakeholders have also been included in our policy choices. Mr. Speaker, more importantly, the various components of the government-owned financial ecosystem, such as Development Bank of Ghana, GCB, CBG, GESTL, Ghana Commodity Exchange, GIF, Venture Capital, Trust Fund, GEA, will all be strengthened to enable us to address the concerns of the private sector in respect of access to credit, access to skills, labor, and raw materials. Mr. Speaker, we do this knowing that the key to our prosperity is not handing out free goods and services to our underprivileged folks, rather it is by providing skills and financing to enable people to generate income and jobs. Mr. Speaker, we continue to optimize our tourism infrastructure. The improvement in key tourist sites have been complemented by aggressive marketing to reposition Ghana. Next month, as in recent years, our country will expect an increase in tourists seeking to patronize the December in Ghana event. Our investment in CCTVs and our roads and provisions of increased logistics for the security services will continue to support these events and make them memorable. These investments would also facilitate the hosting of the 13th All Africa Games in Accra from 8th to 23rd March 2024. This will put Ghana in the spotlight. In addition, Ghana has strategically positioned itself to mobilize climate financing and champion a fit-for-climate global architecture. Mr. Speaker, we also are creating a new financing division at the ministry to ensure that we stay ahead of the game. Mr. Speaker, a new and exciting opportunity is Ghana's newfound wealth in lithium and graphite, which will be extracted in line with the green minerals policy to support our energy transition. Mr. Speaker, the Minerals Income Investment Fund has acquired a 6% contributing interest in Atlantic Lithium's Ghana portfolio. This will lead us to a new negotiating posture for all future extractive industry investments. Mr. Speaker, in line with Ghana's localization policy, Atlantic Lithium will list on the Ghana Stock Exchange to further enhance and deepen local participation. Mr. Speaker, we are in a better place than we were before. The nation has been positively impacted and positioned to harness its prospects. We must move forward courageously, for as 2 Timothy 1 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but, Mr. Speaker, a spirit of courage and of love and of a sound mind, and we must press on. It is in this same vein, Mr. Speaker, of courage and power that we have forged a resilience since 2017. It's important to recall that despite, Mr. Speaker, the poly-crisis of 2019, the poly-crisis in 2020, we have together taken, Mr. Speaker, all of us, a GDP of 219 billion to 1 trillion GDP this year. A key lesson from this leap since 2017 is for us, Mr. Speaker, to eschew unfounded pessimism and nihilism. We have shown, Mr. Speaker, that it is possible. It is possible to triple, to quadruple our GDP. It is possible to create a technologically savvy environment. It is possible to be the investment hub of the region. We should therefore, Mr. Speaker, be collectively proud of ourselves and the can-do spirit of our people. We have proven that a lot more is possible if we stay the course and believe in a future of immense possibilities. To realize our common aspiration, Mr. Speaker, we must continue to speak one language. This is Ghana, a nation united in diversity, a resilient nation on the path to manifest destiny. Every opportunity to safeguard our progress must be protected by adherence to exhortations of Genesis 11:6, that if we speak one language, we can do the impossible. Mr. Speaker, we therefore present to you the Inkunim Victory Budget, a people with a manifest destiny for greatness. We are resilient and we shall prevail because, Mr. Speaker, as we have always said, the battle is indeed the Lord's. God bless our homeland Ghana and make us steadfast to build together a nation that is great and strong in unity. Mr. Speaker, so I move.